colleges are spaces where Black people are affirmed.
You could be yourself and develop yourself in this rich soil.
It's a space that is an unapologetic Black space.
These are places where there's incredible freedom to explore.
We wanted to better ourselves. We wanted to have an institution where people like us all wanted to be more than the status quo.
The question for African Americans has always been, what is education's purpose? Who controls it? And what is the relationship of education to the broader aspirations of our people?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming to this panel discussion. And this is our MCABSE HBCU Homecoming Panel Discussion. I am your host, Dr. Sharon Carlton, co-president of MCABSE. So we will begin in the order of these things. So I will first allow the panel to go ahead and introduce themselves. They are from all different HBCUs, and so we want to make sure that you understand about those particular schools, as well as a common experience you'll probably understand as they are talking or giving their stories. So we'll start off with our panel, and we will get our introductions and what school they're representing.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Darrell Howard. I am a specialist in the Equity Initiatives Unit here in Montgomery County Public Schools, and I am a proud graduate of Westchester University in Pennsylvania, University of Maryland Eastern Shore, and the HU, Howard University.
Hello, how are you? My name is Maisha Stith Powell. I am the resource teacher at Edison High School. I'm over the service cluster and also over special education. And I graduated from Hampton, the HU, Hampton University in Hampton, Virginia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nadia Herrera. I am an ELA instructional coach for Montgomery County, and I graduated from North Carolina A&T State University, Aggie Pride.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rolanda Griffin. I am a third grade teacher at Burnt Mills Elementary School, and I went to the Delaware State University, the first and only HBCU in the state of Delaware.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Koch. I am the World Studies Content Specialist at Forest Oak Middle School and the 7th and 8th grade Social Studies teacher. I graduated from New Jersey City University. However, I have studied abroad over 7 times.
Hello, everyone. I'm Vivian Chisholm, and I am an extensions teacher in special ed, and I went to the University of Maryland Eastern Shore.
Thank you so much, panelists. We appreciate that. And I guess I was remiss in saying that I graduated from Norfolk State University in Norfolk, Virginia. One of the highlights, of course, of my life is always that they continue to do a lot of great things in research and just do a lot of Black excellence in whatever fields. And so I appreciate that all of us are here to represent. And we are going to start off with certain categories of questions. So let's start off with our category that has more to do with finances. So anyone can take this question. You do have different mics in front of you, so if you feel like you're led to answer, please go ahead and do so. The first question says, how did you and your family finance your college education?
Hello. So my family and I We used a lot of scholarships. We in Delaware have this thing called our scholarship compendium, so we looked through that a lot, and there are different scholarships for different things. So whether it's your ethnicity, whether it's certain organizations that your parents belong to or family members belong to, whether you're a descendant of a different group, this entire compendium holds all of these scholarships in one place. And also it can kind of go by classification in high school as well. So I utilized that resource all the way throughout high school to kind of apply as I became eligible.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, I will say something to add to that. I actually was a work-study student. And one of the things I loved about it was the fact that it allowed me to get to know a faculty member at the school and really have someone that I could be open with and talk to. And that person actually ended up being a mentor to me because we just had a great relationship, and it was a great opening to what I call the great education. And some of my friends got to learn a lot of different things because they were like work-study workers in the library, so they got a chance to study a lot, learn about research methods, and so they could help us a lot of times with our work. So that's one of the other experiences I wanted to add.
I too was a work-study student at North Carolina A&T State University. I received a partial scholarship, and I did work-study for, I want to say, my first 2 years, my freshman and sophomore year. But going into my junior year, I became an honor student. I joined 2 different honor societies, and then I received a full scholarship for my remainder in school. Yeah.
Thank you.
I would also like to add that I too was a work-study student. I received the opportunity to work for the office of the provost at New Jersey City University. And we also formed a mentor-mentee relationship. And the school was doing a partnership with universities in China, a new initiative called the Confucius Institute. And I learned about the opportunity, and I said, hey, I'm interested in studying abroad in China. And everyone at the university was like, go for it. We're gonna give you scholarships, we're gonna give you grants, we're gonna set you up so you can have an internship teaching there. And that was my first experience with studying abroad.
Maybe we have time for one more work-study student.
Yes.
So, yes, I was a work-study student as well. And I didn't even remember it until you all said it. I worked in the financial aid office. And so, of course, I had the first access to scholarships and monies that were available to students. And as you mentioned, when you're in a particular office on campus, there's advantages to being there, just not only from resources, but from human resources, being able to connect with someone who may take an interest in you and mentor you, et cetera. Same thing with grad school. I was a graduate assistant, so I was responsible for one of the residence halls, and of course, you get the best room, there's a lot of just benefits and perks outside of the financial piece. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that rich discussion. It's awesome. All right, so let's go on to the next question. And this is based on whether it's a public or private institution. So how does the private and public institution impact the financial aid package that you would receive as a student?
Delaware State is a public institution, and so because we get public money, there were scholarships that came through our state. I was a Delaware resident, and so I got access to this particular scholarship called the Inspire Scholarship because I was a Delaware resident and graduated from a Delaware high school, and that was due to public money. Initially, the scholarship was you get it for the first 3 years as you matriculate through school, but then there was a bill passed throughout the state that says now it's all 4 years. So it definitely, the state impacted the amount of money that a student who was from that state got because it was a public institution.
Thank you so much for that point, because it's important that we understand that locally there's scholarships, but also remember the people that we elect have their own scholarships. So it's always good to make sure that you're checking out your senators, your congressmen, and so forth, because they're the ones who also have scholarships yearly. But also for the states individually do have a financial aid outside of the federal funding. So just for you to know. All right, so let's move on to life on campus. Let's see how we answer some of these questions. Be honest, panel, too. Don't try to sugarcoat it and make, that you were just so nice. No, I'm joking. But we know we all had fun. So let's just kind of answer this question. What was your campus housing experience like? And what do you think really makes the physical and the social environment stand out at your school?
Okay, I'll take this one. Well, my freshman year, I lived on the yard. That's what you call it. You lived on the yard in Twitchell Hall. And, but my sophomore, junior, and senior year, I had an apartment at Hampton Harbors. And for anyone who knows the Hampton area, Hampton Harbors is just an extension of the university. So literally, you're across the street in an apartment complex. But I think that it was a benefit of still being so close to the campus, because that's really how you make all of your connections. That has a lot to do with the friendships that you make, the friendships that you're able to maintain, being involved in different organizations and events on campus. A lot of times when you move away too far, you're not getting the full college experience. So that was my experience.
So my housing experience, I was an RA. I was an RA, so my first year I obviously was not. I was a freshman who lived on campus in one of the freshman housing dorms. But then my sophomore year I became an RA. And that was a different experience, but at the same time, it was different because I was not the typical RA. I was the RA that still wanted to enjoy myself. So as long as you weren't doing anything that could cost me my job or cost you your life, I was fine. I feel like the way that the campus was set up, as far as making sure that the freshmen had housing, was phenomenal, because it was ensuring that they stayed engaged. I definitely feel like it is a phenomenal experience for freshmen to live on campus. I am not an advocate for, if you can be on campus, to be a commuter. You should be on campus at least your freshman year so you can get the experience, and then if you don't like it, proceed with being a commuter. But to see freshmen come back and be excited to come back in housing because, oh my gosh, you were my favorite RA, oh my gosh, Rolanda, like, I'm going to the Ville. Like, they were so excited because that was the upperclassmen housing. So they were so excited about, oh my gosh, I'm leaving freshman housing. It was great to see and build those relationships, and also to kind of see the kind of community that was built on that campus because of us living together, us having the opportunity to live together, even as me being their RA, somebody they view as an authority figure, but at the same time, I'm a student myself.
Yes. And just for those to note, RA in some places means resident assistant. Some people call it resident advisor. But they are meant to be there on that floor to take care of that floor, make sure that you're keeping it clean, that you're not causing any issues with your electrical appliances and so forth. Just being responsible and kind of guiding you when they need to. So they did have, meetings and things like that, but they were responsible for those things.
I have one more thing that I wanted to add, because I think that this is unique to Hampton University. Freshmen on campus, we had a curfew. So they make sure that they're instilling certain values and rules. And so it may have been like 11 o'clock during the week, 12 o'clock on the weekend, and literally once the clock chimes, and you would hear the clock chime on campus, and you could see everybody running, trying to make it before, the clock was finished chiming. So, but it helped us to there were certain expectations that were there, and we set that foundation our freshman year. So I think that was, yeah, something different about Hampton University and the standards.
So for me, I was blessed my freshman year to have a roommate that I loved. Some of us aren't lucky. And I want to say for the first 3 years, so all the way to sophomore year, I had roommates where we shared the same room. But my senior year, I had roommates, but we had our own rooms, and we had shared common areas, so in the student apartments. And for UMES, for those that don't know, we are in the woods. So you need a car, and most likely freshmen weren't allowed to have cars. I'm not sure if it changed now. But a lot of the seniors had cars, but also because seniors were doing internships and traveling to Salisbury, which is like 15 minutes away. And then also if you're doing internships around the county. So the school is in the woods, but you make it fun. So yeah.
So one of the things that I would like to add about being at A&T, it gets a bad rap of being a party school. But I will say this, when you are in student housing as a freshman, and all of a sudden you are in a dorm with people that you love, and they're there all the time, you open up your door, they're there, you go into the bathroom, they're there, you know, you walk in your building, they're there. So you want to hang out, you want to talk, you want to do all those wonderful things that you didn't get a chance to do maybe when you were in high school. If you were me, I had the mom that didn't let you do any type of sleepover. So now all of a sudden I am here, all my friends, let's hang out. So a thing that can be very challenging is finding your balance. Finding when am I going to say, no, I need to shut my door, I need to buckle down and get my work done, and the times that I can hang out and have my fun with my friends. It's hard to find that balance. It was hard for me, but I found it.
So I'll just add one thought too. Like what I'm hearing is about like the relationships that exist, particularly at HBCUs. So being a graduate assistant and trying to supervise your peers and, you know, watch and make sure that they don't do any, like you say, do anything that's going to make sure they don't lose their lives, right? Is a tough job, but you learn how to do it, and you learn how to interact and engage in ways that you say, hey, your goal is to graduate from college, but we also got to do it the right way. And when I hear you talk about at Hampton, you had to be in by like a certain time, it made me remember my sister who graduated from Hampton. And I remember her saying, mama somebody, something like that. And that person would check on them. She was like the dorm mom or something like that. So that expectation that you would be in because you had things to do the next day was incredibly important. I don't think that you're gonna get that from a university that's not an HBCU. I don't think they're gonna check on you in that way and make sure that you're good. So I just wanted to kind of bring that up, the importance of the relationships that are established on HBCU campuses.
And I just want to kind of add one thing to that too, is that when you talk about relationships, they actually extend outside of you attending and graduating from that university, in the alumni associations and the different ways in which you're able to interact when you get out of college, and those relationships are really strong. I know that there are many people who join their alumni association, and I encourage anybody who has not joined theirs to please join theirs, because that's how we continue to support those who are the youngsters on the yard trying to make it. So let's just make sure that we do that, because I love being active in mine, and I love the fact that I see new scholars going through. So we always like to continue to support. All right, our next question. I know this is going to be hard to narrow down. Okay, this is going to be a doozy. We're going to see. We're going to see what you end up saying, but we're going to think about our HBCU experience, and let's frame it this way. This is our fondest memory. Our fondest memory.
Okay, at North Carolina A&T State University, we have something called GHO, Greatest Homecoming on Earth. And I remember my freshman year, one of the things that they encourage all freshmen to do is get in the habit of saying Aggie Pride. And you kind of feel a little bit like a poser saying it in the beginning because you're like, I haven't earned it. I shouldn't be saying it. I'm a little afraid. But you go to homecoming and it is like Christmas. It's like a cookout. It's like a family reunion. It is amazing to just see a sea of people, and they're so happy, and everyone is just enjoying themselves, and everyone's just celebrating being there. And before you know it, you're like, Aggie Pride, Aggie Pride, all right. You know, this is what it's all about, and it's so inspiring just to hear the stories of people, learn about the legacies, and you're like, yep, this my school, all right.
My fondest memory at Delaware State University was when I crossed the oh-so-sweet Delta Lambda chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Yes, that is my fondest.
All right, anybody else? All right, well, I will share my fondest memory. December the 4th, 1996, crossing the burning sands for Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, 100. 100. That's all I got to say about that. Okay, thank you. So just wanted to add my little something in there, okay? All right, so let's go to our next question. We want to think about anybody who's been a student athlete or had some extracurricular activities while you were at college. What kinds of things did you participate in? And, you know, how did that help you in your socialization?
I participated in a couple of different things. There was something on my campus called Fairy God Sisters, which was a campus-based organization that was all about community service, and it was for, I want to say, sophomore to senior girls who were interested in additional opportunities to serve the Dover surrounding community of Delaware State University as well as the campus. And then another organization was the National Society of Leadership and Success, and I was on the executive board for that. I did recruiting, and recruiting was my thing because I enjoy talking to people. I can reel them in. Hello, how are you? And so that was an awesome opportunity as well because it gave me more opportunities to kind of reach out outside of not only my residence hall, but also just to other classes that I didn't know outside of my residence hall. And I was like, you know, please come join, come see what we're about. Please, this is something that not only you can, you know, pad your resume with, but you can also meet some additional students who are trying to do some of the same things that you're doing.
Thank you.
For me, my freshman year, they started a plus-size model group, a model and dance group. It was called Physique with an F. And at first, you know, coming in as a freshman, you're just trying to get to meet new people and to have these group of girls, eventually guys joined, but girls that, you know, looked like you and kind of went through the same experiences. To encourage you and you know, to liberate you through dance and music and modeling. Because there was another modeling group on the campus, but you know, they were smaller. But this group, I eventually became the president my sophomore year, and I stayed president for 2 years, and then my senior year, I focused more on trying to get out of there. The people who are still in the group, or who were in the group, I still keep in contact with. Some of them still model. Some of them, you know, have gone on to dance and stuff. And also, it was great for other organizations to kind of team up with us to do events and stuff like that. And, you know, they always said it was nice to have something like that on the campus. And then when we got guys, it was nice that, you know, because, you know, some guys wanted to, you know, model or dance, whatever, but they were a little insecure about their size, but we welcomed everybody, so that's what we did.
Sounds awesome. Anyone else? Go ahead.
So I also participated in several extracurricular clubs or activities like the Black Student Union Association, history, honor society, but I'm a strong advocate for study abroad. And after my experience with studying abroad in China, I was kind of like the spokesperson for my school. One thing about my school is that even though it's not a HBCU, it is a predominantly Latinx servant institution located in Jersey City, New Jersey, which is the most diverse city in the United States. So just bringing the aspect of diversity to the school that's predominantly students of color to study abroad. So as we all may know, people of color do not study abroad at high rates for many reasons. The number 2 reasons, which are finances and family. So being that those were the 2 barriers that hindered me in the beginning, I kind of brought that to my campus. Like, these are the ways in which you can study abroad. We have a lot of scholarship money. There's endowments. These organizations that run these study abroad programs also have money for you to study abroad. And, you know, just bringing that awareness to my campus after, you know, going to China was really awesome, and it opened the door for me to study abroad 6 more times in the Middle East, and then for me to get a Fulbright with the U.S. State Department to teach English in Taiwan. So that, thank you.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
So that really set the, you know, the stage for me, that studying abroad.
That's amazing that you brought that experience to your campus and they received it and were able to move forward. So that was a stepping stone you created for other people beyond yourself. So we thank you for that. We're going to move on to our questions about the Divine Nine. So I'm going to start off with the question, why? Why did you decide to join your organization? And tell us the organization first.
All right, I am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And why? Phenomenal question. So first, I am a 2-time legacy, as in my Nana, my mom's mom, and my mom are both AKAs. And I came onto the campus with the dream that that was coming for me as well. So came to the campus, and I, you know, had a RA who was an AKA. I went to the org fair and saw, you know, the now sorors, but not then, potential sorors then. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that has to be me. But what really stood out to me, and even with my mom and my Nana, was the way that they carried themselves to me. It was not about just the scholarship or the community service, because, you know, that's such a general answer. No, it was more so about, can I see myself embodying what it is those 2 very perfectly imperfect women in my life exemplified? Can I see myself walking the kind of life that they walk? Can I see myself holding my head high the way that I've seen them do it, situation through situation through situation? On the campus, I didn't see that exemplified too much, but I knew that was still what I wanted because of the way that I saw my Nana and my mom carry themselves.
Thank you. Anyone else?
So anybody that knows me and what I try to do in education, I'm very much concerned with the experiences of Black boys in education. And one of the things that I'm always thinking about is how to help them to understand their journey and then the transition to manhood. And as a young person, my father and my parents are still together, still married. So I had a nuclear family, if you will, but there was something missing about me ensuring that I realized I had made a transition from a boy to a man. And when I saw the Kappas on the yard that I was on, I realized that that is what I felt could help me to get there and then try to live out the motto, the creed, that the fundamental purpose of our work is achievement. And everything that we do, we try to highlight that. And would I be able to do that? Asking those same questions, would I be able to live that? And for those that I didn't see living that, I said I need to be there to be the example for the next group of young people who are interested in an organization. And I support all organizations. I have a lot of back and forth and competitive banter with the other fraternities, but whatever makes you a better man, I completely support that, and that's because that's what a fraternity did for me.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'll just add one thing on my side is the reason why I joined Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated on the campus of Norfolk State was because when I first found out about the founders and how difficult it was for them at the time starting this sorority on a predominantly white campus, and how they had the strength to, no matter how much they had to endure on the campus, to stick together, to stay together, that their legacy is on that campus to this day. And so that heart of a teacher, because it was founded by 7 teachers, was something that is just in my heart, that has always been me, an educator, even from a little girl teaching Sunday school. So because of that, that is what propelled me to go forward to join the organization and represent those 7 teachers well. All right, so let's continue. We have a few more questions here. So let's start off by saying this particular question. How has the organization been influential in your life? How has your particular organization been influential in your life? And you can take that multiple ways, professionally, personally.
Personally, I love my sorors. I literally, they're everywhere and I love them. But personally though, it has created a connection, a vine everywhere I go. It is a vine everywhere I go, because as soon as I see the pink and green, I'm like, hey soror, like it is literally like my eyes gravitate to the pink and green. And so for me personally, it has just given me more opportunity to do what I already like to do, which was reach out to people who I may or may not know, or have a conversation with somebody who I may have not ordinarily had a conversation with, because that's the conversation started right there. Oh, soror, where did you cross? Like that is literally my personal experience right there. It's divine to all of these connections that I never thought that I would be able to create, but I now have the avenue to create those relationships. And then professionally, I just moved to Maryland in August. I just moved here in August. I just started working in Montgomery County Public School District in August. I moved from Delaware, and I've met sorors within the district already. I've met sorors from Delaware who know sorors in the district. I have sorors in my building. And so it is professionally, again, a vine. It's like, okay, somewhere where I ordinarily would have felt alone, I don't. If I was not the kind of woman that I am, where I don't mind stepping out of myself and speaking to people I don't know, I would be like, I'd be lost. But I'm that kind of woman, and I am a woman of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll try to be brief. So, professionally, when I was graduating from undergrad, and I'm like, what's up, Fred? I'm going to graduate in May. The response, and that was the response. And what's next? I'm graduating, I'm going to get my master's degree. And yo, Noop, I'm going to get my PhD. I wrote a book. It's like anything that you do is not enough, because there's always something else you should be doing, because you hold a standard. So when I sit here, when I wear this sweater, like I'm representing 150,000 brothers who focus on this idea of achievement. And we're always trying to outdo each other, and we're always trying to make each other realize there's always more that you can still do. So that's the professional side of it. The personal side of it, I think there was a question you asked about, like, what are your fondest memories? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that, I won't go into it, but those, some of my fondest memories are with the fraternity, and yeah, we'll leave it there.
All right, thank you for combining two things together. All right, awesome. All right, so let's go on to the next item here. And I think you kind of answered that part on your way, so I'm going to go to a question that's more focused on perceptions. So there are many different perceptions about the rigor at HBCUs. And we want to make sure we speak to that through speaking about academic experiences as well as any type of preparation for the workforce. Can you speak to that at your particular school?
So I know at UMES when I went, I was a special ed major, and they prepared you because there's certain tests that you have to take, and as education we know about the praxis. So they prepare you for that. You have to take courses in that. Also, they give you opportunities to do internships in the field that you like. So I was able to go out into different schools, elementary schools, high schools, to you know, do my internship. Mm-hmm. My sister, she was a rehab major, and for her, since sophomore year, they were there's a partnership with a rehab house or safe house that was really like close, and they she was able to sit in on interviews and everything. So I feel like UMES, they have these connections that prepare you before you get out in the real world and use your degree. Mm-hmm. So you're not like, you know, because as coming to the table, like I was talking to some of them today, that when we walk in the room, it's like we already have to prove ourselves, and some people want to know your credentials, like why are you here? And I feel like at HBCUs, they're already setting you up to know you have this, you are allowed to have this, and walk into the room and like be proud that you have experience just as your counterparts. So.
Thank you so much for that. Anyone else?
So I attended North Carolina A&T as an elementary education major, and we had the opportunity to experience what you call field experiences, starting with our sophomore year. Starting at our sophomore year, we were allowed to go into buildings, not just one particular type. We went into urban schools, we went into affluent schools, we went into more rural schools to just observe and get an idea of what schools look like, what the experience is, to get a handle on what students do. And then from that point on, they began to build our understanding of the school environment, of ourselves as learners. But one of the things that I loved best about being at A&T was my professors. If I wrote a paper, I turned that paper in, my professor would hand it back to me and say, you could do better. I want better by tomorrow. And it's like, oh, snap. What do you mean I could do better? Okay. But I rose to that standard. And that's the same standard that I hold my students to. That's the same standard that now in my role, when I walk into schools, I hold them there. I say, okay, this is where we are, but this is where we can go. Another wonderful thing that happened when I was there, as young folks, sometimes we call our parents when we have issues, right? My dean had all of us come into a conference room, and she said, I understand that you all are still struggling to find your voice, but guess what? You better find it, because you're about to walk into these schools, and you can't call your mama, you can't call your daddy. And we all had to sit there and say, okay. But we learned the lesson. We knew that we had to begin having those conversations with her. And so the instruction that we received didn't just happen in the classroom. It also happened by folks pulling us close, investing in us, knowing that we could, and us meeting that standard.
To piggyback off of that, professors that look like us, they know what we can do, and they don't have that sympathy or empathy like, oh, okay, that some of our counterparts will have towards people of color. And it's nice to have people who look like our parents, our aunties, our uncles telling us, no, you could do better. Go back, I don't want this. And that shows you like, okay, dang, you do care. Because usually, turn it in and be like, okay, you get an F or whatever, or a C, and then you're just like, okay, I'm content with that. But then it also prepares us that if some of us who do want to go on to secondary education to get our master's, like that's not going to cut it there. So that was good.
Definitely.
And adding one more thing, I had a professor one of my professors that handed a paper back to me, and she said, I know you can get an A on this paper. And she was like, I also know that when you leave this institution, you're going to go on and get your master's degree. And at that point, I'm like, I am struggling just to get this undergrad degree. But I have 2 master's degrees now. So I know the power of someone believing in you. And it's just very important that all our students have that experience. It's awesome.
You actually reminded me of something that I've repressed. But I had a situation with a professor, and actually it's not just the African American instructors that really look after you. I think it's all the instructors, because once they go there, they come with the understanding that, I'm going to take these kids under my wings. It doesn't always happen, but in general. So I had this professor in sociology, Dr. Rosenthal, and I have a very bad memory. But I had him, and we had to compare. It was like 3 books that we had to compare to one another. I'm like, where am I going to get the time to read 3 books, cover to cover? So I read 2 of them. The last one, I tried to finesse it. I tried to scan through it, read the front, the back, and have a gist. But how are you going to truthfully make this comparison? You're comparing and contrasting these 3 books. Mm-hmm. And right now, in this moment, I remember seeing all the red on that paper. And he broke it down. Like, I know you didn't read the book. Like, it was obvious that you didn't read the book. But the fact that he took the extra step to tell me, look, you need to check yourself, you need to go back, do the due diligence, and then come back and give it to me when you're prepared. I don't think that would have happened at a PWI.
Thank you so much. I just think it's so important that, we emphasize that HBCUs have just as much rigor as other universities, and that, like you heard the personal experiences of some of these people on the panel about how that person goes the extra mile to make sure you push yourself, that you press in, because they see that potential. And so that's that personal touch that teachers will give you at a HBCU that is like no other. There's no other brand out there like it. So that's one of the things that we always want to think about. These are a couple freehand questions that I'm just going to ask you guys just to kind of think about, and then you can chime in whenever you'd like to. One of the things I think is really important is that at HBCU, there's a sense of spirit and pride. What does that mean to you when you think about the pride of your university? Tell me how that makes you feel. What is the expression?
I am proud to say that I went to Delaware State University. Very proud to say I belong to Hornet Nation. I feel like that kind of pride comes with not just seeing your institution do phenomenal things before you, but during you, and then after you, and then the people that you see who've left and done things, to see what your school or who your school has produced, and then who it's creating you to be. Like, to see yourself come in as a freshman, 18 years old, somewhat directionless, and then even to just morph into your second semester freshman self or your first semester junior year self, to see that your experiences at this particular place with these particular people who are called to do something with you, for you, to shape you, is just amazing. It's amazing. And so that's where the pride stems from for me. It's not even about Del State being Del State, the illustrious. It's about what you did for not just for me, but those before me, and what you continue to do for me because of what you taught me. That's where my Hornet Nation pride comes from.
Well, we can't talk about pride without an Aggie pride. So when I think about the pride that I have in my school, I think about Black excellence. You know, it is that understanding, some of the things that we just talked about, that when you walk through that door, it's not about the person you are, it's about the person that they know you are going to be. And so many people are pouring into you. So many people are rooting for you. And even if you walk through those doors not believing in yourself, by the time you walk out, you are gonna know that I can conquer this whole entire world. And knowing that transformation that took place over the years that you were there just makes you say, Aggie pride. But I also want to focus in on that piece of the legacy that you are connected to, that you know the history of your school. Like at my school, we have the A&T 4. You know, these boys, they walked in as freshmen and they sat down at a table and they said, we are going to be treated equally. And as we walk through those halls of North Carolina A&T, we know that when we go out into the world, we are going to be treated equally. We demand that respect because we deserve that respect. We don't have to prove it to anyone. We can just live in it. And just going through that process, because I did not walk into A&T feeling like that, but guess what? I do now. So that is all for the rest of my life. That is all part of my Aggie pride.
Anyone else?
So we're gonna talk about Hawk pride, catch it. So for me, it's everybody's there for a purpose. Like everyone who's on that campus is there to be excellent. And they're gonna leave excellent. Even if you didn't finish, you started there. And I always talk to my friend, she didn't finish, but you know, she's proud of me and I'm proud of her that, you know, we share that experience together. Of course, she has different avenues, but like, you start there and it's not where you finish, you know? So just like how you guys have pride there, like I feel like overall, everyone's there for a purpose and there's excellence there and excellence ooze out of you there. And then when you go into a room like this and you say, I'm from UMES, I'm from A&T with A. And, oh, sorry. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys.
She knew the name. She knew the name.
I know, right? Forgive me.
We all know it's A&T. It's okay.
But like, you know, you just gotta say the letters and people are with you. And that's what I love about just going to HBCU.
And I think it's really important, you know, when we're talking about pride, I'm so proud of Norfolk State. It's such a wonderful place to have grown and become and to find my voice. But even more that it continues to blossom, it continues to, you know, just do all kinds of incredible things. You know, I was just proud to see that some of them were moving on to such great heights, like we have an NFL referee, First Lady, Black woman to be a referee, and she is doing her thing on the cover of our alumni magazine. And so, like, I'm always excited about what we're doing, and we're doing so many great things. And I always say, I may hold almost 4.5, 5 degrees, but Norfolk State is my foundation. So that's the key, that all of us feel that pride in wherever we went to, and it's not a competition thing, because we're all from this great thing called HBCUs. So we're all a family, no matter where you go and whatever you do. So I want to ask one more final question of the panel. And so my final question is, for those people who are on the fence about going to a HBCU because they may have heard some different things, and they're at that place where it's time to make that decision. And for you, you're like their mentor. What would you say to them to make sure they understand how important that decision is and why they should go to the HBCU?
When you're selecting a school, don't just think about what it is that the school can do for you academically. You're a whole person, and there is more to you than your academics. You need to be somewhere that will cultivate, encourage, and build you up to be not just the student that you're supposed to be, but also the young man or woman that you're supposed to be. You need to attach yourself to the institution that you believe can do all of those things for you as an entire person, not just the place that you think will get you the job.
We very rarely, as Black people, have the opportunity to live in, fully immerse ourselves in an experience where we are the majority. And we talk a lot about mental health, right? We talk a lot about social-emotional health. When you are in a place where everyone looks like you, when you are in a place where you are seeing teachers that look like you, when you don't have to pick your social group just because they look like you, where you are picking your social group because guess what? This person likes the same thing I do. I could actually connect on so many different levels, not just on an academic level. I can connect on all the levels that exist. Our students, our Black students, don't get that every day. Give them that 4 years. You can go on afterwards, experience something else, go on and get your master's, go on and get your doctoral degree. But for those 4 years, ground yourself in that pride that is going to carry you through for the rest of your life.
Thank you so much. This is the end of our panel discussion, but I'd like to give special thanks to many people who helped to put this whole thing together. We first want to thank our committee, the Historically Black Colleges and Universities, a committee that was put together by MCABSE, and our chair of that was Mr. Joseph Bostic, assistant principal over at Northwood High School. We'd also like to thank our officers under MCABSE, and especially one who was on the committee, which was Ms. Kim Prillman. We also would thank our wonderful panelists who are here today. Give yourselves a round of applause. And we also like to thank all of those who are on audio, camera, and even our audience. We thank our Northwood Drumline for their rendition just at the beginning of this. And so we just thank you so much for joining us. And we hope that you have an awesome Black History Month, remembering Black is excellent.